All right, folks, Andrew Bopros here. Going to do a video on John Johnson III and why that conversation seems to be heating up a little bit. Maybe reading a little too much into this, but at the end of the day, I do think he's the final piece, or a safety of his caliber is a final piece of this defense we need for a Super Bowl run in 2023. So let's get into it.
Bull Bros!
Okay, folks, as always, Andrew Bolt Bros. Like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. We talk about all things Chargers here. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. So Sebastian Joseph Day, just the other day, I was working out with John Johnson and Megan Fox, a.k.a. Morgan Fox, a.k.a. Transform. Well, okay, you know that's Morgan Fox. You guys know that. Okay, it's not Megan Fox. You know, we know that. Transformer movie, all the above. Look, at the end of the day, Brandon Staley likes to bring in his guys, right? Now, again, why am I such a big fan of having a safety? I'm going to go into that a little more. I know a lot of people are hyped on Lowe. He's been waiting in the wings. He's looking pretty good. But, you bring in a safety like of a caliber like a John Johnson, some things really can change as far as the defense is concerned. So I'm going to go into the numbers real quick, and then I'll wrap up my thoughts. It's not going to be a super long video today. But, I just want to drop this thought because you guys all know that I've really wanted John Johnson for a long time. I'm going to explain why, right? I'm going to tell you exactly why I like the idea of having John Johnson here specifically, right? And kind of, what that means specifically for this team. So, again, the other part of the conversation, Jeremy Fowler's been talking about, John Johnson since way back in March, right? So, obviously, the Browns released him, and, it was one of those situations where, really interesting to see if Brandon Staley, pulls the strings and gets his Rams folks together on the team. So let's talk a little bit more about, some of the general numbers with what he was, getting paid with the Browns, right? So what would it potentially cost for the Chargers to get him specifically, right? Again, we think we have about $14 million in cap space left over. But John Johnson, who spent his first 4 seasons with the Rams, had a great season in 2020. And he left LA in 2021, signed a 3-year deal with the Browns for $33.75 million with the Cleveland Browns in March. Then Browns released him to save cap space. 4 months later, he still remains a free agent, which is a really interesting conversation. So we fast forward to now. Recently, this is exactly what happened. SJD threw out that tweet. That's where we got that photo from in that workout with Morgan Fox and John Johnson and SJD. So they were working out together. And again, you got to ask yourself this question, right? Okay, does it make sense? Can we make the numbers make sense? I think so, right? I mean, he was released by the Browns. He's not going anywhere. He did really well. Now, let's maybe review some of the actual, what he did specifically with the Rams and why I actually like him on the Chargers specifically. So how did he do with the Rams? Is he, worth picking up? I mean, clearly Brandon Staley likes to bring guys in from his old Rams days, right? I mean, just the picture right alone, right? You got Morgan Fox and Sebastian Joseph Day there. So, but again, he played very well alongside, his Rams compadres when Brandon Staley was there. So it's kind of one of those things where, all right, you want to go back to your glory days, right? You want to go with people and I think it's a big reason why I think John Johnson would be a good fit with us specifically because he already understands the defense. He can step right in. On top of that, folks, veterans don't want to come into camp. They don't want to go to OTAs. They don't want to sign before that. They want to enjoy their time off. They're kind of winding down their career. They're trying to pick 1 or 2 teams. They're trying to have a last Super Bowl push for. Chargers are a good fit, man. We all know the Rams aren't there. They do not have a lot of firepower. And quite frankly, a lot of people expect them to win 4 or 5 games this season. Might even only win a couple games, right? So, they're not expecting a whole lot from there. And there's even discussions that if the season goes bad, McVay may get let go, which I think is crazy because he's a fantastic head coach. But, it's one of those, that's the nature of the business, folks, right? So, but again, is this just a situation where it's just a case of former teammates catching up for a workout, first time off season, yada, yada, who knows? But again, there's a lot of people talking about this specifically. Now, let's go through some of the numbers here real quick. So let's see. In his time with the Rams, Johnson appeared in 54 games and started 48. Again, he was also a captain for the Rams. He quickly became a key part of the Rams defense, totaling around 350 tackles, 32 passes defended, and 8 interceptions. Yeah, and so again, he was his defensive coordinator in 2020, understands the system. again, I just really feel this is an intriguing possibility that we could get him signed. Now, so why does this matter, right? So I'm going to wrap up my thoughts again. Like I said, I don't want this to be a super long video. And, a big part of the reason why I do like the idea is that this would allow the Chargers to do a few different things, right? One, and I've talked about this before. I think I did a video about a month ago about Derwin James specifically. Derwin James is an amazing pass rusher. If you could give the ability for Derwin James to be more in the box, he could rush the passer more aggressively. Now, Brandon Staley, as you guys know, he likes a too high safety look. But if you had someone like a John Johnson could rush and you could have Derwin up top, or you could have Derwin rush and you could have John Johnson up top. Either way, it gives a lot more flexibility. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, right? People watching this video, do you think Lowe would be as good as John Johnson? I would argue the answer would be no, right? Lowe is fairly unproven at this point. John Jenkins stepped in. He can do a very good job with Derwin James right out of the box and offer Brandon Staley some more flexibility, right, in the pass rushing game and just the general coverage game. Again, I also do believe we're going to play more nickel and more dime this season, even than what we did last season. I even suspect K9 is probably going to get a lot less playing time. We may even see some more Dayon Henley, right? I do think Brandon Staley likes the smaller, quicker, better coverage type of corners and linebackers moving forward. So, as we've discussed, Kenneth Murray's days are most likely numbered. But at the end of the day, John Johnson would give us so much more flexibility. And he's so productive, folks. I mean, think about these numbers, man. 54 games, 48 started games. And he, 350 tackles. Folks, that's 100 and what is that? 115 tackles a season? That's amazing. 32 passes defended and 8 interceptions. I promise you, we're not going to get that production from Lowe if he's our starting safety next to Derwin James. So again, rumors still, we understand it's nothing set in stone, all the above, but again, I just really I feel like he's the final piece of the puzzle we need. So guys, am I crazy? What do you guys think? Do you think he's the right guy? Do you think there's somebody else out there? Am I missing something? Again, if you do think Lowe is the guy, put your thoughts out there as well too. But as always, I'm Andrew Bullpros. See you guys in the next one.